Um, so we are an impact fund. We are the first impact fund in Portugal, and as far as I know, we're still the only one. Um, our key goal is to back brave founders that find the solutions to target the world's most pressing social and environmental needs. We guide our work through the UN SDGs, and actually those are the pillars of our investments. So we have the majority of our investments in SDG 3, good health and well-being, and sustainable communities.
Yeah, I read some impact case under each portfolio company on your website, and I saw you do it on a regular basis. Is that the requirements or the framework that you need to report to your LPs, or it's just something that you measure internally and published?
Well, it's a bit of both. We are an impact fund, and for us, impact is not a nice to have. This is something that we actually do, and it's the target, the core of our activity. Even our carry as fund managers is related to the impact performance of our fund. So if impact-wise our companies don't perform as we hope they do, we won't receive our carry as fund managers because we feel that we're not doing our job as we should, because we are first and foremost an impact fund. And what we do is we have multiple sessions, but at least one first session with the companies where we define what are going to be the impact metrics that we're going to measure. And from that moment onwards, we have regular touch points with the companies. And of course, they report mostly through Rundit to share the impact metrics, the financial and the impact metrics with us. So this is something that we track on a regular basis, because we have to, and also because we want to. This is what we want to be. We want to be an impact before being a VC fund. And we include this reporting in our quarterly reports. So we report impact on a quarterly basis. We report to the advisory board twice per year, and we prepare one annual report where we have a larger chapter on impact with some more detail, where we do an analysis of the evolution of the impact performance of the companies compared to the targets that they set in the beginning of the investment relationship.
That's brilliant. You have established like a platform, MSM platform, as you call it. Can you tell us more about it? It's very interesting.
Yeah, so that is the baby of my colleague Tina. So the MSM platform, the goal is to have a tailored support service for our companies. So at MSM, we don't just invest in the companies. That is, of course, the main or the beginning of the relationship that we have with the founders. But after that, we really try to give as much support as possible to help their businesses grow. And we think that we can have an active role in that aspect. So it doesn't have to be just like a passive investor that gives them the money and then lets the things flow. We like to be involved in the businesses a little bit at least, and we give the support as much as we can. So first, on the investment side, usually the investor lead has a strong relationship with the founder, and there is a lot of advice, like sometimes even technical advice, team related, many aspects. But then there is the MSM platform, and what the MSM platform tries to do is to address specific asks of the founders, because maybe they see that one of our team members is related to someone with whom they need a link, or because they could use a software that through us they could get a discount. So there are many aspects of the MSM platform that really help the life of the founders. But I think the core is this idea of network. We really want to facilitate relationships to our founders, and it's been beautiful to see it, grow and becoming automated, and just seeing how useful it is for the founders, and the feedback has been incredibly positive.
And you mentioned briefly about the challenges you have been dealt with in the past before getting to use Rundit, and you collect and store portfolio company performance data through emails and Excel. Is there any other difficulties or manual tasks that you might recall?
Started using Rundit fairly early in our investment journey. So if I recall correctly, I had a first call with the PECA in April 2020. I remember that it was in the beginning of lockdown. And at the time we had invested in 3 companies only. And at first, I didn't really, understand the need of having this type of reporting automated, because it was the first time that I was doing this specific job. And in many things, it's the first time that all of us are doing this, because we are the first impact fund in Portugal. But before that, so I was receiving the information in email, and I was, feeding my own Excel manually. And somehow I thought this was manageable, but in the first and second company, when we reached third company, I realized that, if we were going to have a portfolio of 35 to 40 companies, it is absolutely unthinkable to do this work manually, because the margin of error is huge. The time it would consume is immense, and it just wouldn't be practical. And then we started looking for solutions, and we found Rundit, and basically that's been our solution ever since. And we really want to create the habits of reporting through Rundit. Some of our founders are still very lazy, so it is frustrating, because what happens is that at the end of the quarter, I go on Rundit and I see who has reported. Some of the companies, they're amazing, they report monthly and everything is there, but some others are not. And I have to chase them through email, and that is still a very time-consuming process. Especially when I'm preparing the quarterly reports for our investors, is to have founders understand how important Rundit is. But once they do, it actually works on their advantage, because they realize that they can use Rundit to report to all investors, and they don't have to do 5-10 different types of report for each investor that they have. The other day, I had a founder asking me about Rundit, like, oh, I can use this to report to everyone. Yes, you can. And you can, attach whatever additional information you need, and you can add additional metrics, not just the one that I said in the beginning, because those are the one that I need. And you can report, monthly or quarterly as you wish. So there is a lot of things that you can do. You can include a qualitative report, which is really nice when founders do it. I really like to read the qualitative reports and not just an email that I get once a month. This is actually a part that we include on the MSM platform product. So we have one onboarding session after we do the investment, where we, present the team, where we talk about the impact case, the business milestones, and also how MSM is there to support the founders. And in the context of that, we talk about the platform, and within the platform, we talk about how Rundit can actually help the founders. So this is not just something that they do for us. This is actually a good product that we're offering for them to use to fulfill the reporting requirements with all investors, not just with us.
Yeah. It's so nice to hear that you are early adopter, and I assume that you have more time to conduct more portfolio value creation work and support founders. So can you share any practices that you are doing as NFM, like give them the access to the talents or community that you're building to support them?
Yeah, so through the MSM platform, as I was saying, we do this community work, this networking part, but we also have a Slack channel, also managed by my colleague Tina, where we have the MSM community, the founders, key co-lead investors that we think are relevant to be part of the community, and to grow this group of people, because there is a lot of interesting sharing that we can do, that we can grow and learn from each other.
Yeah. Do you use the investment side of Rundit? I mean the dashboard where you have aggregated invested capital, fair value, and multiple. Do you use it for internal reporting, and how often do you use it?
Yeah, we don't really do internal reporting, so we do use it internally for a growth session that we have on a quarterly basis. So we have this growth meeting with the venture partners of MSM, which again are part of this broader group of people that we believe can help our companies grow. And we have a growth session every quarter where we meet with them and we discuss companies. Not all companies, sometimes we have specific topics that we're discussing with them. And in that case, we do use Rundit like as a support for our discussion. For instance, if we want to have a broader look at our portfolio, the easiest, like visually, the easiest way to to see the information is just to open the investment overview on Rundit and share my screen, and we're looking at the numbers as we speak. And it's the same when we go into additional detail with the KPIs. So if I want to see where the companies are in terms of headcount or in terms of runway, that's what we do. So we have a list of the companies, of our investments, and then we just choose whatever metrics we are analyzing in that moment. And it's like the support for our discussion. We don't have to prepare additional materials, a PowerPoint or something to share in that presentation, because we just use Rundit. And because this is an internal discussion, so with third-party entities, we usually don't use Rundit because it's an internal tool and it has confidential information. But for internal discussions, namely the growth session, we use it as a support for the discussion that we have every quarter.
For metrics that you're collecting from your portfolio company, which metric that translates business and impact potential do you usually request from your companies, and what is the process, if you mind sharing that? From they establish the metrics to the step of encouraging them to report to you? Can you share the process with us?
We collect two types of metrics. First, the financial metrics, because we still are an investment fund, so we need those. And actually, the initial group of metrics is quite standard. It's revenue, headcount, EBITDA, runway, cash reserves. So it's quite the standard. But then there are specific metrics that we target for each company, and those are decided on the onboarding session. So we have a discussion with the founders and we understand together what is the metric that, you know, measures the success of your business. And there are some additional more financial or practical metrics that we measure, like for instance the number of users of an application. That's fine. But then there is, of course, a specific case of impact, and we decide the metric alongside the founders, and it can be the number, the tons of CO2 savings from a certain business, or the number of people that entered the job market and that got a decent job. And decent is actually something very specific, like above a certain pay grade. So it's not just decent because it's a nice adjective, it actually means something. Or the tons of plastic that of plastic waste that are not produced from the use of menstrual products. There are different types of metrics depending on the business that we are targeting. We have several companies in the health sector, and for those it would be like the number of people that have reported increase in their lifestyle or in their health and well-being. It really depends on the company. So those are like tailored metrics for specific businesses. So it's hard to have one metric. For environmental businesses, it's a bit easier because usually it's ultimately the tons of CO2 savings. But for social businesses, they really are targeted according to the business.
Yeah.
Now we have a lot more founders reporting, and it just makes my life so much easier. And ultimately, we want to see and to use Rundit as the source of truth for KPIs, because right now we are using it mostly for reporting, or only for reporting. And that's what we want. We have this tool which has all these amazing automations, and we want to make the most out of it. So if the founders, report and share the impact metrics there and the financial metrics there, we can then use Rundit to better inform our decisions and to have all the information available. And that's the goal, just having Rundit act as a source of truth for what we do. And we see that, like, in the companies that use Rundit more, I don't have to email them because everything is there. I don't have additional questions. I have all the information online, and that's how it should be. If we want to scale our businesses, that's how it should be. So it's very, very intuitive, very easy to use. And I really like to see how much you've grown, because I've started using Rundit. We started using Rundit in the beginning of 2020. And we've had I had several touch points with Pekka, with Goran, and it's very cool to see how the platform is evolving and how you're introducing and developing so many new features that, you know, respond to my needs.